But that still has to do with like the asking and the yearning, because I think the other side of prayer very often is, I mean, part of that is listening, but even much more than listening, I think sometimes prayer can just be being with God. I spend a lot of time with my parents, with Michelle, with some of you, just like being together and not always seeking some kind of transaction or seeking to do something, but simply being together, acknowledging quietly and being aware of the other's existence, to accompany one another, to be in God's life, that our life and God's life are united together, so that our spirits, the spirit inside of us is the Spirit of God praying. Right? So I'm sure there are lots of ways of praying, and a lot of ways, but I think they're all part of that. So I think that's a useful thing to think about, how we pray and what prayer is. And so now I'm going to turn over to Susan and hear her wisdom.
Well, you all know my name is Susan, so, but it's Susan Means. And after what Brennan says, I really don't need to talk, but I'm going to anyway. I'm going to tell you what I think. So, when Susan asked me to talk with you this morning, she said she wanted me to share my approach to prayer and meditation and how it has fostered my spiritual growth. I warned her that I'm not very traditional, and my approach to prayer is probably not any of yours. But she reassured me that this church believes in diversity and that we understand that we're each individuals and we make individual choices. Well, I have spent the last 40 years looking at ways to enhance my spiritual life. I believe that God is present with us all the time. Then my prayer life is a constant. He is with me all the time. I started a long time ago practicing meditation. Meditation now has grown into what we call mindfulness. Mindfulness is a different approach. Training in mindfulness is not about learning to sit alone on a cloud. It is a life-changing skill that enables us to be more present, grounded, and compassionately aware of our thoughts, feelings, and relationships. This mindfulness approach is taught by psychologists, it's taught in colleges, it's taught in lots of situations because people are not very mindful of what they're doing. To me, mindfulness is a way of being in the world. First, it helps me embrace the moment that I live. I'm able to see the richness around me. I intentionally try to listen when people talk to me and connect with them on a deeper plane. And in the midst of a crisis, I seek guidance by being quiet and hearing God's voice speaking to me. I practice gratitude and compassion on a daily basis. I have a friend who has a son that is a Buddhist monk. And she and I have had some very interesting discussions about Buddhism. And I'm very enthralled with Buddhism because Buddhism spends a lot of time talking about compassion and the presence of God within us. Compassion is more than just a word, it's an action. There are two components to the word. First, a sensitivity to suffering and the motivation to do something about it. science, in all its wisdom, tells us that we're wired for kindness and compassion, but we forget to practice it. Cultivating compassion doesn't have to mean you have to add something to your life. It's about how we understand and approach ourselves, other people, and the activities that we do. As we deepen our empathy, love, and compassion for other people, we'll find the need to judge and criticize others will not be as prominent, and maybe it will fade and be replaced by the desire to understand and help them. There are more benefits to compassion. Recognizing that we're all in this life together, we can stop finger pointing at other people, sticking our heads in the sand, and begin to support each other. All our lives are filled with challenges, and we all sometimes struggle with very powerful emotions and not knowing what to do with them. But we're better able to face those challenges if we take time to listen to each other, encourage each other, and hold ourselves accountable when we may be part of the problem. When we feel safe, accepted, and valued, we are able to face problems and take responsibility for them. This is a gift we can give to ourselves and to our others. It's a gift that benefits the giver as much as the recipient. But if your compassion doesn't include yourself, it isn't complete. How does one start? As I mentioned before, it takes awareness. Probably everyone in this room is already practicing compassion, and my words will go in your ear and out. But the first thing I want you to do is to work on yourselves, which is what I had to do. I had to stop calling myself stupid and remember that I couldn't do everything, and that it was perfectly okay to ask somebody for help. And as I chug through my daily life, I find that I have to be grateful for the many things that I have. My family, I have a family that lives on Maui, and they were not in the fire. That's a blessing and a gratitude. I just need to recognize that I can smile at somebody, I can offer help, I can even write a check if someone needs some help. And I never pass someone that's standing on the road wanting money, because I'd rather help someone that doesn't need it than not help someone that does. So, I recognize that I have lots of biases, and I am very careful to not say, "How can you think that way?" Because, as all my friends know, I don't have a good poker face, and it doesn't take very long for them to know how I'm feeling anyway. Now, I've talked about the choices I've made in my life and the path I've tried to follow. And let me tell you, 90 years of living, the road has sometimes been very rocky and hard to maneuver. I'm always aware of God's presence, but at times it feels like I keep pushing that rock up the hill and it keeps falling back. But the one thing I want you to know, that it's the church connection that has made me able to get through all the pain that I felt in the last few years. All the different faiths I've studied, the one thing they all talk about is connection. Connection, connection. We need each other, people. We aren't in this world alone. Although God is with us, we are not here alone. We need each other. As I was preparing this talk, I happened to reread one of my journals with the poems and the writing that I've written over the years. I almost brought a poem, but I didn't. Obviously, there has been good days as well as bad ones. How I've managed my spiritual life is a very interesting read. but I'm not going to share anymore. But if I were to offer to you any particular words or advice, I would say to you, look at that special aha experience when you feel the wonder of life. It may be when you see a beautiful flower, hear wonderful music, feel the love of community, but somehow everything feels different. The Buddhists call it presence. I call it God within my soul. Accept it as a special gift. I'm not sure I've covered this topic adequately, but it really doesn't matter because everyone's prayer life is an individual undertaking. The one thing I would like for you all to take from this talk is this. May your path be illuminated by awareness that will guide you toward discovery, growth, and connection. Thank you.